Hey guys, just in case any of you missed it, we had this really interesting stream that just happened a couple hours ago, if that, and it was actually Sumo Digital, and what they were doing was they were showing off their new game coming up called Snake Pass. Now, we know about this game, it's pretty cool looking, but what's interesting is they decided to go on stream and start playing the Switch version. So not only do they start playing the Switch version, they start talking a little bit about their experiences with developing and bringing over the game to the Switch, and they had some pretty good stuff to say about Nintendo, specifically how easy it is to move games over and then develop for the Switch. So there's a couple of lines here I want to show you guys just so you can kind of get an idea of what was happening and what they were saying. The first line I want you guys to see here is, just so you know, this is actually the Switch version that we're playing on as well, so it's looking pretty darn good to say the least. So the first thing they wanted to let us know is, oh yeah, we're playing on the Switch version because they'd been showing a lot of the PS4 version, for example, and the Switch version comes up, and it looks good. Like, actually, it was surprising how good it looked compared to any of the other games they've been showing, specifically on the PS4. And it gets more interesting because as they're playing it, they start talking about how they ported it over, specifically how fast. And that was the next thing they had to say. It was because of how Unreal and Nintendo have been working together, for the most part on getting Unreal Engine working on the Switch, we got it at least running in a week, so they say. I assume they're talking about the programmers who came to them and said, hey, yeah, we got it done in a week. It's all good. But they at least say they got it running. Now, that means that they probably had to spend more time optimizing it and rounding out the rough edges and everything like that. But to go from one system like the PS4 and then go to the Switch in a week is unheard of. I've never heard that happen before for anything. Port jobs usually take a lot longer than that, a lot longer. The fact that you can go from one to the other that quick is pretty much telling us that, hey, ports are pretty easy to do. Remember we had Miyamoto come out and tell us that, oh, if you go from a large-scale PC game to the Switch, it'd take about a year to port it. That's about it. Well, Snake Pass, while it's not a big, huge AAA game, is still a 3D platformer, and it has some interesting physics and elements to it, obviously, but it all takes place in Unreal Engine 4. So moving from the PS4 to the Switch, because they share the same engine, is pretty easy, apparently. That kind of leads us right into the next line that they had to say, and that was, the fact that Nintendo are working so closely with Epic, it's great. It's really going to enable and empower a lot of people to get great games on the Switch fast. The idea of new hardware arriving and getting a game up and running in a weekish is previously unheard of, just like how I was just saying. It's very clear that there's been a great working relationship between these two. Again, they're putting over Nintendo in the fact that they are much more willing to work with these engines and developers than they would have been in the past. And I think they learned their lesson with the Wii U. I think they understand, hey, we need to be very developer friendly with this system. And based on a lot of the engines they're now developing for, letting people do, it's become very clear that they want to be a system that anyone can go and put a game on. And this is really where Unreal Engine 4 comes into play. Now, Unreal Engine is awesome for a couple reasons. The biggest one, though, and I'm going to tell you guys this now, if you have an idea for a game right now, if you're watching this video and you're like, man, I would really like to make this game, I think it'd be really cool, like a really cool indie game, you can do it. You don't need to necessarily know how to code to design with Unreal Engine 4 because they have something called blueprints, which is more of a visual style for developing a game. Now, you would want to hire a freelance programmer to kind of get you to the finish line, to look over it, make sure it would be working with things other than Steam, obviously. Now, moving it to the PC would not be hard, but, moving it to like the Switch or the PlayStation 4 might be a little more work, and that's why you'd hire a freelance programmer. But to just put it out on the PC would not be difficult overall if you're willing to work a little bit and learn a few things. Now, they have a lot of videos online, and you can actually go and just check out blueprints, and you could start designing a game. They've even said on the stream you can go start designing a game over a weekend if you're willing to just hang out and learn some stuff. Now, they did say it was more of like a 2D game. These 3D type games take a little longer to do, mostly because you have to do a lot of artwork and everything to get it to the finish line. But the fact that we are not at a point now where you have to learn how to program code to make a game is just opening the door to people with creative ideas, but maybe they don't know how to code well. They even went out to say that the person with the original idea for this game, Snake Pass, doesn't know how to code. They actually started designing this with blueprints, and then they ended up thinking the game was good enough to where they could start bringing people in, the game takes off, and now it's coming to the PS4, the Xbox One, the PC, and the Switch. So guys, don't let it hold you back if you don't know how to code. Go look at blueprints and see what you can figure out. I'll even leave a link down in the description for you guys. I'd like to see more people with creative ideas like Snake Pass. I didn't think I'd ever see a platformer like this where you can't jump, but it's still a full platformer. It's such a cool idea. Like I said, it's not a big AAA game, but it just looks different. It's interesting, and that's all I ask in games now. It's be different, be interesting, and be fun. It looks fun. And that's where I was going to end this video, except I ran across something else during the stream. While I was watching the stream, I was actually doing some reading as well. I come across an interesting article from Polygon that was talking about the developers for Binding of Isaac, and they had some stuff to say about the Switch also. And this is from the Binding of Isaac developer, like I was saying, Nicholas. He was talking about how moving over to Nintendo with their games was a little harder in the past, but now it's almost like it's done a complete 180. And this is what he had to say about the Switch. He said, "The Switch is by far the easiest and most programmer-friendly so far. I know this sounds like lip service to Nintendo, but it's actually not. If this wasn't true, we wouldn't be able to get these games up and running as quickly as we have, and we wouldn't be able to have a launch title. It's light years ahead of what we were doing with the Wii U." So what he's saying is, hey, the Switch, way easier to work on than the Wii U, the Wii, even the 3DS at this point is what he's pointing at. And really, I believe him, because I've talked to you guys in length about this. The Wii U used PowerPC, much different from what the PS4 and the Xbox One used. Did not support Unreal Engine 4 or any Vulkan or anything new. The Wii obviously was basically GameCube CPUs and not good. 3DS, yes, it is an ARM processor, but still does not support the same stuff that we see now that the Switch has. The Switch supports all of the stuff going across the board that you can go from a PC and then just move it to the Switch, which is amazing. So what we have now is a system with the Switch that is easy to develop for, and instead of becoming a system that indies don't really care to go to, I think the Switch is going to become the indie game system. Because I think indie developers, at least, see the appeal of the Switch with its handheld mode and the fact that it's the most powerful handheld out there and it's easy to program for. I also want to make mention, the gentleman here from Binding of Isaac, the developer, and the guys on the stream for Snake Pass seem to have stuff they couldn't talk about for the Switch still. So there's still something under wraps with the Switch in terms of the system, which means we have to be seeing a Nintendo Direct soon, because none of the customers, we're not going to be under NDA, so whatever they are trying to keep away from us right now has to be coming up soon. We have to get a Nintendo Direct in the next couple weeks, right? There's something we're missing. I personally think it's the online distribution service, because we don't know what the online is exactly right now. That's got to be what they're talking about, so we're missing something there. That's all I can think of. I don't think it would be anything to do with the hardware or the chips or specs or anything like that. I think it has to do something with the online service. But let me know what you guys think down in the description below. Are you impressed that this game could get over in a week? Are you impressed that the Switch is starting to turn into the easy to develop for platform that we'll probably see a lot of indie developers come to, and maybe in turn there sell more systems, which would then increase the likelihood of larger AAA games to come over? Again, let me know what you guys think down below, and I will see you tomorrow morning for Newswave.